Life's what you make it. Hannah Montana.
Thank you very much.
No, like, I hate this question because I think my honest answer is I don't think there is a meaning to life. With that question, it's like the meaning of life is to reproduce and like live, ultimately. But even if you pull that apart, you have to live. Like, that is the meaning of life, is to live. It's not about... I fucking hate it because it's like such a pseudo-psychological phrase, but I do kind of also love it. You know, it's like, it's not about finishing the race. It's not about finishing the race. It's about who you're with when you finish it, you know? And who you're with, you know, that could be people, that could be thoughts, that could be emotions, you know. That doesn't just mean people. And like, I think that's the meaning of life to me. The meaning of life is just living. And yeah, you're going to look back and everyone's going to have regrets, some more than others, some heavier than others. But time don't stop, man. Time don't stop.
This is going to be amazing. Alright, cool. 3, 2, 1. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jeoffrey Sarpong podcast. Today I have a very, very special guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself. But I think you guys are going to really like this one. Alright, cool. So, Mikey, I already introduced your name, but do you want to introduce? Give him a quick introduction.
I'm introduce myself. Terrible host. My name is Michelangelo. Born and raised in northeast London.
Cheers.
I'm going to probably be going back and forth between talking like a roadman and like I'm educated. I don't know.
You're an educated roadman.
I'm an educated roadman.
It's a new breed that they've been putting
New
out.
breed. Nah, listen, the path was paved for me. I'm just following it.
Where are some of your passions, Mikey?
Oh damn, we going in. What are some of my passions? Honestly, I feel like I'm rediscovering certain passions, if I'm honest. I would always tell people my passions are video games, animation, and honestly sport as well, but that requires a lot more physical effort, which at the moment I'm at my lowest in terms of physical effort. It's not the season, unfortunately, but typically when it is sports, I love basketball, I love football, I love volleyball, even though I'm quite new to it and only got into it because of anime, but that's alright.
Is it haiku?
Of course it is.
Of course. We'll get into that.
But we'll get into that. And I think a passion in life, a general one also, is just trying to reach places where I'm comfortable. My passion is being comfortable. That's something, I guess, that kind of motivates me throughout my life.
That's an interesting philosophy. Let me go on that then. So, I didn't explain to you before, so it's going to get annoying passing the mics back and forth.
I anticipated.
You anticipated. I'm glad you figured that out.
Anticipated the blockers. Preparing to streamline.
So how I know Mike is from work, but I don't want to get too much into work. I want to keep it as focused on the passions, because I always want to have this conversation with you. I wanted to have this conversation with you because every time we spoke, I could see that you are interested in so many different things, which is, I think, is super cool, and we're really similar in that aspect, that we're interested in so many different things that are all got their own little niche markets. But also, I think just to have your perspective, just to kind of pick your brain about stuff like that, you know. So, I before this interview, I prepared some softball questions, I call them, that I'm going to get you to pick between some of your favorite things and questioning you on why that you like these favorite things. So first off, I know you're a big fan of Spider-Man and you're a big fan of Dragon Ball, but if you had to kill one and make one of them never exists, so you have to pick one and the other one never exists, which one would you pick and why?
This is a very mean question.
I know.
Honestly, you know what? I might have to kill Spider-Man, because I think what Dragon Ball Z did for anime, and man, I'm not Japanese, not even a little bit. I haven't grown up in Japan, but what Dragon Ball did for anime, manga, Japan as a country, like as a, in terms of a market,
That's
you
a
know.
culture, yeah.
Bro, it's not even funny the extent at which Dragon Ball has shaped the perception of anime and so the perception of Japan.
Alright, let's start from the beginning. Someone who hasn't seen Dragon Ball, what is Dragon Ball and like what's the overall story and why is it important and impactful?
I mean, so Dragon Ball is very different. The start of it is very different to how it is now. But at the start of it, it was a little gag kung fu manga based on Journey to the West with the Monkey King. In Japanese, I think Sun Wukong.
Yeah.
And Son Goku. Excuse me, literally Son Goku. It's Son Wukong is in Chinese. And there's links to I can't remember what form of Indian heritage it is, but I think it even goes that far back to like 5000 BC and stuff, stories that long ago. But so it's a story of this boy with a monkey tail who lives alone in a forest, and he's protecting a Dragon Ball, and he crosses paths with a young teenage girl being Bulma, and they go on a journey to find the Dragon Balls. In finding the Dragon Balls, they go on adventures, mythical adventures, or mystical, as the first theme song implies. And man, it's a beautiful journey of self-discovery and persevering and fighting, obviously, and fighting for what's right, but also sometimes a bit selfish. And Dragon Ball Z comes in, and all of a sudden, you know, I feel like whenever you run out of ideas, just aliens.
Yes.
You know, aliens.
Bigger aliens.
Aliens.
Better aliens.
Yes. And then obviously from there you get into finding out Goku's from a race of Saiyans, and you're fighting a purple alien in Frieza.
So was that not established in the first one?
No. He was just a kid who turned into a grey ape for some reason in the full moon. And then all of a sudden, Dragon Ball Z starts, and he's got a brother from space who kidnaps his son. But my point of bringing that up is that when that came into the picture, and really Dragon Ball Z is what the West saw, it was even dubbed before original Dragon Ball. So all the kids grew up watching Goku go Kaioken, go Super Saiyan. It was all forms and power levels and explosions and beams, and the West just hadn't seen anything like it. And it's literally Masashi Kishimoto of Naruto is inspired by it. Eiichiro Oda of One Piece is inspired by it. I'm sure Tite Kubo to an extent was inspired by it. Like, that's a lot. And I know I'm just listing shonen. I'm sorry.
No,
at the moment,
I get what you're saying. Your point is that like all these people are inspired by this thing, and that's why it has such an impact.
Absolutely, and then they inspired other things, and this ripple effect. Obviously, I definitely haven't listed everything, like other shonens as well that exist out there. I'm not going to say Attack on Titan can only exist because of Dragon Ball Z, but the ripples move, you know, for sure.
Alright, cool. And we'll come back to that. I think I want to ask some even more questions on Dragon Ball, but I think we'll come back to that because I think it deserves its own section. The next kind of guest pick between that I had for you was Studio Ghibli, and so I know you're a big fan of Studio Ghibli, or Star Wars. I know they're not in the same stratosphere, but I'm getting you to pick. Which one would you pick out of Studio Ghibli or Star Wars?
Yeah, honestly, man, it's a selfish thing because I think for the world probably Star Wars, but I really don't. Can we swear? I don't fuck with Star Wars, man. I don't know. Like, it's not even about the prequel. The prequels are terrible, and I only watch the original. Like, nothing like that, bro. I loved the prequels when I was a kid, actually, because I grew up with it. I had the games, I had toys. Like Episode 3, I had the game for it on PS2, and look, ultimately, it's man fighting each other with light swords, you know, like it's gas. I understand it, but
make a case for Star Wars then. Why is Star Wars so impactful, you think, if you had to say?
Well, bro, I think it really came in a period of Hollywood where it was almost like, I don't want to say a golden age, it was probably like a bronze age of cinema, like golden age being like, I don't know, actually maybe even before spaghetti westerns, like Casablanca and stuff, like those kind of films, and then the westerns came out, and then you get to the 80s, and I think it was just making these action movies. Like, everyone was just on the hunt for this next huge thing. It was Terminator, franchises, Terminator, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Alien, Predator,
That was
like
a crazy time in Hollywood.
like genuine, like
Yeah, so much change.
Rocky.
It's fun.
You know, Rambo. I mean, insane franchises, and Star Wars was part of that. You know, and I think it was so different to everything else because, I mean, obviously Star Trek, one of the biggest shows at the time. Don't get me wrong, but I think Star Wars really came and just took sci-fi to another level on took sci-fi to another level on the big screen. And it defines cinema, bro. A lot of, I'm sure, new directors are inspired by, you know, discovering Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Like, it's created staples in storytelling and new cliches that people avoid. People have learned from Star Wars, you know? Like, people have probably studied it. But I don't fuck with it. I don't fuck with it. I love Studio Ghibli. Again, I don't know. I think I just...
You like Ghibli more, or you just don't fuck with Star Wars?
I infinitely prefer Ghibli to Star Wars.
Okay. Go on now.
I don't know... Wait, what did I just say?
You infinitely prefer Stibli.
Stibli Wars.
And I was like so in there, and I was like,
Stibli Wars.
Stibli. The famous Stibli Studios.
Studio Ghibli.
Coming out of Taiwan, China.
I prefer Studio Ghibli because it's Japanese Disney. Like, Hayao Miyazaki as a director is incredible. Obviously, needless to say, like the Oscar-winning Spirited Away and stuff. But
which was your favorite Ghibli film?
My favorite Ghibli film is Howl's Moving Castle. 100%.
I like Tales of F.C.
That's his son. His son directed that, and I haven't seen that. So I only watched over lockdown when they all released on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'd already seen like Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away up to that point, but I was like, man, I need to see all of these. I need to see like My Neighbor Totoro. I need to see Porco Rosso. I need to see the first one. I can't remember, like
My Neighbor Totoro. I know, but there's so many. There's like
some, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's about the girl.
Kiki's Delivery Service.
Oh, well, Kiki's Delivery Service as well, but that's not what I was talking about. It's the one where she's like in a world of pollution and stuff.
Okay, is it Nausea? Some name?
Yeah, Nausicaa of the Valley. Yeah.
Nausea.
Nausea. Nausicaa, to be fair, I can't actually remember how to say it, but regardless, so I watched all of Hayao Miyazaki's, and I haven't seen any of the other directors, and especially not his sons. But yeah, bro, Japanese Disney, I just found myself, whenever I turned on a Ghibli film, like Castle in the Sky, you know, I start it, and it's like, yeah, okay, I'm reading the title, Castle in the Sky, guess it's about a castle in the sky, they're gonna end up there, I'm sure. You start, and it's, alright, this is interesting, and then 20 minutes in, you know, you've got government, you've got pirates, you've got
corruption, evil,
bro, you've got societies, you've got hierarchies, and you're just like, you're 30 minutes in and this world has unfolded before you, and that happens every time I watch a Ghibli film, and I'm just like, what on earth has happened? How did I get to this place where it just feels like this has been my life, you know? Incredible.
I got a question on that.
Please, before I start talking about One Piece.
Nah, I mean, we'll get to One Piece, don't worry, we'll get to One Piece. One Piece is mad. But now, I was going to say, in terms of Ghibli, what do you think is one thing that people from the West can learn from kind of the world depicted in Ghibli films? Just, you know how, like, for example, we were talking about how they build the characters and build the world, and how even the simple scenes of, like, you know, a character will be running through a street and you just see someone washing pots and pans, and just like, these are fictional worlds that he creates, but he imbues them with so much of the Eastern normal culture. Like, what do you think people can learn from, like, Ghibli films and apply it to their own life in the West?
Well, that's a huge question. I think you're so right, because there are so many cultural cues in Studio Ghibli that are, of course, influenced from just growing up in Japan, you know, like, even things like leaving shoes at the door and you know, generally, like, the way they'll sit on their knees to eat, and even how they eat and what they eat. In terms of what the West can learn from it, I don't think the values, or I don't think what's valuable to the West from Studio Ghibli are the Eastern values. I think it's the lessons that the characters learn, you know. And even something like, let's take Spirited Away, you know, literally starts with her parents overeating at a food market and they turn into pigs, and then the daughter needs to deal with, like, the decisions of her parent, you know. And honestly, I never thought about it that deeply until you asked me this question, so thank you. But jokes aside, those, I think, are the lessons to be taken from it. It's like gluttony and loneliness and being there for people that need help, and recognizing that even when someone looks strong, they still need help. You know, I think a lot of that, even Kiki's Delivery Service, it's such a journey of, I can imagine it's a modern journey for women, like going to find a career and
the struggle that comes with
exactly,
and the family behind, and
exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think just to go off that also, I think that's certainly what I learned from Ghibli films. I think I was introduced to Ghibli when I first watched it. Was Spirited Away, and I think I was just blown away. I remember watching my family. I was like, "What is going on here? Like, what are these characters? What is happening? Why are they two old women with like a massive head that turns into a eagle?" But all of these are like allegories for some sort of message that I think that the director's trying to send. And it's so interesting when you take a step back and you analyze what he's trying to go for. You know, and like the world he's trying to say.
Sorry, so I just thought of something. In terms of no, bro, like it's not gonna change the world. In terms of something that maybe the West can learn from Ghibli films, it's how incredible, and I can't think of another word other than incredible, storytelling visually can be through 2D, like hand-drawn animation. You know, I think somewhere in the 2000s, the West, like Disney, seeing the success of, I don't know, Pixar and even DreamWorks to an extent, you know, and then everything just went CG. Like everything went CG, from games to movies, of course, TV shows, kids TV shows, you know, that I honestly really don't like the look of. I really hate the look of that cheap CG 3D models. Can't stand it. And I don't know, I guess I'd like the West to sort of see Studio Ghibli films and think, wow, this medium of storytelling is unparalleled. And don't get me wrong, we've had incredible CGI films. Obviously, look at Spider-Verse, look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle now, that we're finally realising like what the medium can be. Obviously, actually, let me not say that. Pixar have had bangers in terms of animation, but regardless.
I know what you're saying though. There's been definitely a commercial move to that, copying the 3D kind of like the CGI lifestyle. Yeah.
But it's funny because from what I understand, I don't even think it's cheaper. I think it just saves time. But then Spider-Verse takes 5 years. It's funny because they do a change like that to make it less complex and easier to make a movie. But then, because obviously artists who actually care about their craft, just because this thing is quicker, they instead take that and push it to its limits so much that it takes 5 years to make a film. It's just a funny irony to me.
Yeah, it takes length of time doesn't change.
Exactly.
People still care about the work they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go on the next one then. And just to get into one last final question I had was, have you seen Jujutsu Kaisen?
So I've read it up to a. I don't know if you want to take, because I don't know if it's worth talking about it. I read it up to a certain arc. I'm quite foggy on it because I like burned through the first 60 chapters, so I don't know it that well.
It's fine. I'll pivot then. I'll go. You've seen Naruto though, right? And you've seen One Piece.
I can still talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, especially if you have opinions.
No, I mean the question I was gonna ask was basically like, what do you think of? How would you compare One Piece or Jujutsu Kaisen? Which one would you pick, and why?
Bro, it's
not even
close. And I don't want to say it's not even close in the sense of like nothing can touch One Piece. Don't get me wrong. I've had highs in, you know, in reading My Hero Academia. Like, I'm a bit of a shonen baby. I'll be real. Seasonal anime.
To be honest, that's why we're here.
Yeah, like seasonal anime, I find it quite hard to get into. But obviously, I've watched some more important things in terms of like Vinland Saga or Mob Psycho, which is probably my favorite anime. You know, so it's not all completely shonen. Obviously, the Ghibli films, I've seen some important films like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, whatever, but really I'm a shonen baby. I'm not going to try and pretend to be different.
Can I change the question then?
Well, but I still want to answer like what's One Piece to Jujutsu Kaisen, and I think it's so contextual because I can completely understand someone looking at One Piece and comparing it to Jujutsu Kaisen and going, Jujutsu Kaisen looks so much more serious, it's cold, it's edgy, I want that. And I went through that phase. Like, I was that person when I was younger, because I didn't read One Piece until about 15 years in. Probably longer.
Yeah.
Much longer, because I always thought One Piece looks childish, whatever. But Jeoffrey, that man has been writing the same story consecutively every week, drawing. I had a realization the other day, for 26 years, sorry, or 23. Bro, I realized he's drawn emotions probably longer than he's conveyed them through speech. Do you know how mad that is?
Yeah.
He probably
Yeah.
speaks in like manga, bro. He speaks in like
Yeah, his mind.
drawings.
How his mind must interact with the world.
Like he spends majority of his day drawing characters who are expressing themselves. It's like
drawing them, redrawing them, drawing them again.
you could read a manga chapter of One Piece and understand what's going on. Obviously, you won't understand all the lore and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but you'll understand what's going on because he's that good of an artist. At the moment, his art is a bit sketchy. Whatever, he's astigmatism and needs to move things along. But yeah, One Piece is a completely different ballpark. But then you end up essentially enslaving an artist for 23 years, you know?
Do you think they see it as enslaving, or it's like this is their life's journey, this is their life's work?
I don't think it's sustainable. And I think someone like Oda, Masashi Kishimoto to an extent, a human isn't meant to live that life. Like a human is not... Even if they were healthy, even if he was getting 8 hours sleep every night, which he's not, but even if he was eating fine, whatever, bro, to constantly have to be creating a story, I don't think that's healthy. Because like at a certain extent, I'm a firm believer that stories come from experiences. But if all he's been doing, I don't know, because then there's not an issue with One Piece. Like One Piece is an incredible story, you know, like I can't even chat shit about it, but it's more a testament to just how good of an author, a writer he is.
But it's the trade-off though, right? It's like, I think that's the point you're trying to make. If you spend your whole time making stories, then kind of like when do you spend time living the life that you're going to draw this inspiration from? You know, he's always creating stories, he's always in this character's head, he becomes these characters. How does he, because I have the same problem when I write or when I try to come up with ideas, it's coming from a place of such truth. I have to be able to relate to what I'm saying. But if I don't do that, if I'm just creating to get a chapter out every week, how is that even going to turn out? And that's very difficult to like balance, especially for someone who has 26 years. You know, to me that's so crazy.
It really is, man. And I often wonder like when people say like Jujutsu Kaisen or One Piece and they pick Jujutsu Kaisen, of course I understand like subjective taste and looks, but at a certain level you need to respect that this man has been drawing art for that long, and it's not like it only just got good either. Like obviously everyone's it's been good anyway. Regardless, like I look at Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm very happy it exists. I've got no qualms with it, or I'm not like, oh, it's shitty and edgy, whatever. Like I think it draws heavy inspiration from Bleach, and that's a good thing, you know. And it's definitely gas. I can't deny Jujutsu Kaisen's
Gas.
yes, basically. But One Piece for me.
To give you even another question, then, which one would you pick between Jujutsu Kaisen and Mob Psycho?
Mob Psycho.
Really? After you just said about One Piece?
Yeah. Wait, no, you said Jujutsu Kaisen or Mob Psycho?
No,
One Piece.
One Piece or Mob Psycho, sorry.
Damn.
Yeah. Go on. Take some time. Take time.
Nah, that's tough. I don't want to take time because I don't want dead air. I don't want it.
No,
you can edit around it.
Yeah. I know, so dead air is fine. It's a conversation.
Nah,
It's not like Mr. Beast.
my air's alive, fam. No dead air.
Come on.
No dead air.
Come on.
You know what? It has to be One Piece, man. One Piece is... Mob Psycho is... in like a vacuum, Mob Psycho is my favorite anime. Like I love it. I love the humor. I love the animation. I love the story it tells. I was watching a review about it from a Totally Not Mark. He was originally a Dragon Ball reviewer, but then he started just doing like the anatomy of manga and storytelling of manga, and he's going through all these different things. He went from Mob Psycho, and honestly, to see someone pull it apart from the music production of the show, the author's intentions, and one of the things that really stuck out to me was the writer said, I want Mob Psycho to be a story about one small step that takes a really long time, and my goodness, you know, that really comes through. And the change in Mob, honestly, you could even say he's not as exciting, quote unquote, in season 3, because he becomes well adjusted. Sorry, have you seen? Like he becomes well adjusted. He becomes happy. He's not as anxious to talk to people, and it's like to see that kind of progression. It's not just, oh, Naruto's accepted by the village now. He's the same person, still screaming and annoying, but the village accepted now because he body bagged pain. You know, it's like, all right, that's cool. But progression in Mob Psycho was, no, this kid is not anxious in his own body anymore. He is comfortable in his own skin. And he's taking that small step. And it's so beautiful, you know. And all the insecurities of characters around him. Oh, I could go on all day about it. But so in a vacuum, I'd say Mob Psycho is better. But then One Piece, it's... I can't tell you how many times I've gone back to watch certain moments of One Piece, namely when Luffy rings the bell, the Golden Bow and Gaia, and people say Skypiea was like a dead arc, it was too long, badly paced. Like, of course, I definitely don't argue with those, but at the same time, the build up of what the missing Golden City is for Noland, and the callbacks to them seeing giant shadows in the skies, you know, and all of that, he put all those pieces in place to just have this final, orgasmic, there's another word with this, orgasmic 100%, climax 100%. Of Luffy ringing that bell that's needed to ring for, I can't remember what it is now, like 500 years or whatever.
Yeah. Or like that scene in Marineford when Luffy turns up to save Ace.
Yeah.
You just get that scene where it's like they've set up all these characters, and then Luffy just comes over the thing with all these people.
Yeah, all the people.
And just like
all the people that support him.
You feel in that moment.
For sure. Because that's been built up naturally, you know.
Crazy.
And you can only, that storytelling can literally only come from having such a long serialized story every week. And it's funny because I was thinking about this, because I was like, what other medium is like that? Comic books? Yeah. But comic books will have different artists, they'll have different writers, they'll have different... literally will be like... In terms of the artists, you have people who color and people who do the line work. You know, those are different people. I don't know if they're always different people, but usually... most of the time, I mean, Batman will change different artists. Bro, different interpretations of the character, different setups, different family structures. Like, Batman will have a kid in one. Batman will not be a father in the other. He'll be dealing with the torment of losing Robin, or he'll just be... You know, he'll be fine. He'll just be early in his career. But with One Piece, it's like, Luffy has been this way since the beginning, you know. And I guess there has been development in characters, especially if you go back earlier, and people would probably argue that earlier in One Piece you saw those more. And I feel like the excuse for that is we've grown with the characters now, they've developed, now they need to change the world, you know. Alright,
then here's a question to bring this to a button up. Then what would you say, I'm going to pass it straight back, what would you say that you've learned from One Piece personally? You've obviously understood these characters for these length of time, and different characters and how they behave in different scenarios. You know, you have Luffy, you've got Zoro, you've got Sanji. What have you learned? You can pick a character, you can just pick even a scene. What have you learned from One Piece that you think can like help with life or translate to life?
Honestly, I think my lessons from One Piece haven't necessarily been the lessons that characters learn. You know, I could say things that are Nami learning to, you know, Nami, basically. Yeah, you know, like like those things, or Robin saying she wants to live, or Sanji deciding to come back to the Strikes. You know, all these pivotal moments in One Piece, I haven't really learned from those, especially not in the way I've learned from like Mob Psycho or Vinland Saga or Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, I'm rewatching it in a moment with Courtney, bro, and it's...
I remember you showed me last time. It's crazy.
Like, those shows teach me lessons. Shonen, I don't know, like, I guess I could say, like, oh, Naruto always tries, and maybe there is an extent of Naruto just... You know what, I'll say that. Shonen main characters have definitely taught me how to take an L. Like, how to hold an L and... just walk through it and just keep pushing. And I'm not going to say that means I'm like, obviously I'm like putting on weight, I'm stressed, so I'm definitely not getting through fine, but I've seen like the other side of that. I've seen how hard it can be for some people to not have that mentality, and like when there is a hurdle they just stop instead of go over it, you know. Like, I've seen that. And I'm not trying to say Naruto saved my life, but I think in a way I have been low-key conditioned to just, believe it.
Believe it.
You know, that my art. It's like...
I'm gonna be a cock.
Yeah, How's he Italian?
I don't know.
Oh my god, I'm your cag.
It's Mario. Your cag.
And so like even One Piece, you know, I wouldn't say I really learned lessons from One Piece, but like I said, you know, Mob Psycho, Vinland Saga, like I have no enemies, bro. And I haven't read it, and I know
if you know.
If you know, you know. And I haven't read it because you've read it, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I haven't read it. I'm considering reading it, but I haven't read it.
It's beautiful.
You know, so I waited a long time for season 2. And I think when Vinland Saga came out and I watched it, I didn't know what to expect. And what I ended up with was I got to the end of season 1, and my boy, I forced him to watch it, and he had lost family members, like close members, and I haven't really. And he was explaining to me, he was like, bro, I've never watched something that really boils down the feeling of death, you know, to like its core meanings and how it feels. Like the show feels like someone has died, whether it's the ending with, like, no spoilers, whether it's the ending of season 1 with Ashalad falling and all of Thorfinn's vengeance and rage being for nothing, and him dealing with the consequences of wasting that time in his life. And then when the drunken priest, you know, he's talking about what love means, you know, and it's not sacrifice, it's like, I can't remember, honestly, I haven't watched it in a minute, but it was like explaining, like, you know, the mountain like loves the wind because it just doesn't move, even though the wind constantly blows it, but it just doesn't move. And I could be butchering that. Maybe I'm remembering something that doesn't exist.
That's a fire bar. If you're butchering that, that's a fire.
But it was just like, what is love, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, love is like, you know, loving someone even though they annoy you, whatever, or whatever it was with I can't remember. It's like Canute.
Yeah.
And Ragnar, whatever his carer was, and it was stunning. You know, I learned a lot more lessons from that.
I want to go back to what you said about I have no enemies. What do you think that means for you, especially, like what your friend was trying to say?
Well, my friend wasn't talking about I have no enemies because that's season 2. But for me, I have no enemies. It's complicated because even watching Vinland Saga, I don't. Maybe I have been brainwashed by shonen. Like, don't get me wrong, but I do think there are times where you have to retaliate and you have to fight. Doesn't always mean physically, and I guess that's also what Thorfinn probably means. You know, it's like, yeah, fight back in the right ways, but aggressively sometimes. Even if sometimes you have to like snap someone out of something, or you need to snap a people out of something. You know,
100%.
like I don't tend to believe in the pacifist route, but at the same time, I still acknowledge and respect a lesson like I have no enemies, and kind of take it with me, because even though sometimes you do kind of need to fight, sometimes that fight probably needs to be with yourself. Because if someone does something that does negatively impact your life, you need to remember that they are also living a life, and they have probably lived something that you couldn't even like
100%. You can't even imagine.
You know,
he's fighting for a war.
and that's not to say everyone is living a traumatic life. I'm sure a lot of people live lovely lives, but there is always something that they've experienced that you are not. And I've just grown to understand, like, you know what, if someone snaps at me, I'll get pissed. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say I don't care or anything like that. I definitely care, but the way I internalize my feelings, it's like, you know what, whatever, man, I'll be okay tomorrow. If I lose something, if I lose a person, like not to death, but like to not speaking to them, if I disappoint someone, if I lose a job, like, God bless, I've never been in that position, but life goes on. Yeah, and I have no enemies. I don't blame my life on anyone but myself, and it's things like that, I think, from that phrase.
Can I touch on that then? That's really well put, actually. Like, hearing you speak about that got me thinking about not just that I have no enemies, but like all the sayings from anime, just in general. Like, you know, I touched on that I have no enemies before. I think I've always tried to live my life in a way which I'll be proud of when I look back. And I think I made a decision years ago to try to love people. Like, my nature when I was younger was always curiosity with people, but you kind of lose that when you get older, because you kind of run into betrayal or just people, and like they're dealing with shit, they project that onto you. You feel like that's on you now, and you take that and internalize that. But I try to, like, and you pass it to the next person. And it's just like, You know, it's like a ricochet of all these feelings that you don't even understand the root of it. So I try to make the buck stop at me. When something comes into me, I realize there's no charge. There is no energy towards it unless how I interpret it. You know, and so that's why I have this outlook. People always ask, why am I so happy? Because I have this outlook that nothing can affect me unless I choose to let it affect me. You know, and obviously there is bounds in that. You know, sometimes you have to have boundaries, but if you really try to delve into each individual with attention and love, then your life becomes better. And then I think, to me, that's what that phrase "I have no enemy" means, is the fact that there is no need to like villainize the world or to put people in the positions of power where they can have that control over you. You know, you need to just relax into it, be open into the experience of life. You know, obviously these are broad generalized terms, and life's about specifics. Sure. But I think once you have that overall mentality of like, oh, I'm going to just try to just go through life with a little bit of love, a little bit of patience for each individual that I run into, that helps you. And that the effect of that is very, I think, emboldening and gives you some strength to face and to keep moving forward and to never give up, you know, to become Hokage, like I don't know what the rest, find the Dragon Balls or whatever the fuck the man say.
Well, bro, sorry to snatch the mic, but so my thing is also, this is going to get maybe a bit cringy, I don't know. I think just even the fact that we can... cringe on this channel, bro. Okay. Yeah. I think even just the fact that me and you can sit here, verbalize these thoughts and feelings, and recognize certain patterns and trends of, you know, the human journey, the psyche, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, this thought, I mean, of course, philosophy has existed from ancient Greece, whatever, maybe even before that, who knows. But I just feel that the human condition is in such a weird place where it's like constantly exploited by like corporations and capitalism, but also I can't imagine if people like 200 years ago were having these kind of talks and being so, I don't even know if they were able to put it into words, you know. And I guess probably there was 200 years ago, you know, but to be able to be educated as a people, like enough people en masse to have these realizations, you know, and write their own stories and their own journeys. But I wanted to take a step back and about lessons. And my current rewatch of Avatar has genuinely been, there's been certain episodes, particularly with Zuko and Uncle Iroh's journey with him, and I'm shocked at how mature some of these issues are. And it was funny because then in the last episode of season 2, when the Avatar and stuff, they separated, and they're now returning to Ba Sing Se to help because Aang had a vision, whatever, so he had to end his training. And Uncle Iroh is now no longer with Zuko, he's with Avatar at the moment. It's the first time we've kind of seen them together. And the whole story of Avatar has been a parallel between Aang and Zuko. They're both on this journey, they both have their issues, and it's how they do this thing together to save the world, right? And Iroh's always been, let's call him a spirit guide. He's always been Zuko's spirit guide, but now he's guiding Aang. And Aang has just come from a guru who's waited in that spot for his whole life, I think, waiting for Avatar Aang to come because he has to teach him how to go into the Avatar state. And he's been there mastering the chakras, how to release them for a good flow, you know. And it's like, oh, and they're all beautiful chakras. It's like guilt and shame and fear. You have to let these things go. You need to let these attachments go. You need to let them go. And then the final one is he literally needs to let go his thing. He needs to let go Katara, right? And he says, no, I can't do it. And then this guru, it's the first time you kind of see him be strict. He's like, you have to do it. Like, you have to do this. And it's the fact that there are certain people, no matter how beautiful, something like I don't know, Buddhism. I'm not sure what chakras especially is. I don't know if it's Hinduism and Buddhism. But it's this guru who's like presented as this all-knowing being, beautiful, master of their craft. And he's saying very strictly, no, you have to let go this person you love. Otherwise, okay, Avatar state in this point is like enlightenment, right? But it's shown as a fucking Super Saiyan transformation, whatever. So it's like, if you don't let this person you love go, you have failed us, basically, you know? So whatever, he doesn't care. Aang's like, look, I need to save my thing. sacrificed it for Nyash, wet Nyash, that waterbender. And so he goes there, and then he bumps into Uncle Iroh, and they have a walk. And Aang explains this thing to Uncle Iroh, and boom, we're hit with the other perspective. And I find it so stunning that Avatar does this. So he's walking through this tunnel with Uncle Iroh, and Iroh gives this speech. It's a bit too, it's a bit ham-fisted for me. It's like this tunnel, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But before that, he says, well, honestly, I think it's very good for you to not throw away something that makes you happy. And as soon as he said that, it was like, you have this wise man who used to be a general, was a terrible general from what I understand, tried to take the Earth Kingdom. His son died on the invasion, and then that was the catalyst of change for him. And he started seeing the world in a different way. All of a sudden things made more sense, like what's really important, this, that, and the other. So he is wise now, we could argue. And the guru's wise as well. But they don't have the same perspective. And Uncle Iroh is saying, yeah, I don't think you need to throw away something that you love. You know, I think it's good that you're keeping it because it keeps you happy. And it was just that feeling of, there is this sentiment of like, lose your attachments, you need to find enlightenment, whatever, you need to forget, you need to throw this away, you need to throw that. But then at what point are we just not being human anymore?
Absolutely.
And regardless of which way is right, I want to be clear. I'm not saying like, I like Uncle Iroh's one because he's right. I agree with it a bit more, sure. But I just think the fact that these polar opposite ideologies are represented so like fluidly in a show that's competing with SpongeBob SquarePants. And listen, no knock on SpongeBob SquarePants, but like apples and oranges, you know, it's like the fact that these were on blocks like one after another or whenever, I don't know what the schedule was like, it just blows my mind that you could have such mature points of view and balance them, you know, and teach. I'd like to think children learned from that. Obviously, I'm not sure if they really did. I'm not even sure if they can understand it, but I'd like to think so.
Here's a question, then. What is that based on? First of all, that's beautifully well put, and thank you for that lesson. I wanted to just, based off that, just go off and say, like, what is that thing for you that, as Uncle Iroh said, that he doesn't think it's bad for you to keep that? What is that for you in your life that people have told you, well, baby, stop this, or, you know, you should, you know, to reach enlightenment or to grow older, as they always get us with, you know, you should stop, but you understand deep within yourself that actually this is actually a part of me being a human being?
So I definitely never had like a guru figure telling me you need to let go of your attachments, but I did have people like my dad's partner, for example. You know, he'd always come in and say, after a hard day's work, he was like typical salaryman. Like salaryman hates his life, always comes in complaining about work, but oh fuck it, whatever, another day, another dollar, be funny about it, whatever. But he'd always just come to me and going, oh, trust me, Mickey, when you grow up, life will be miserable. He might have not said that verbatim, but he would say things like that. Sorry, I keep adjusting my face, my hair's like, bro, don't apologize, man. For the people watching, for the gathering. And it's just oh god, I'm gonna sneeze. Go on. It's the softest sneeze ever. Keep that one in. Keep that one in. Keep that one in.
I can't say no more.
But you wanted to see me. This is the real me. But no, so, and he would often say these things. And it's like, oh, you know what? And to an extent, I think that is kind of like let go of like hope. Let go of like dreams, let go of wanting things to be good, because they're not. Yeah. They're not, you know, you need to accept. And honestly, Courtney won't mind us talking about this, like even stuff she's going through. And I've kind of seen myself slipping into things where it's like, well look, life is shit and sometimes you just need to get on with it. Life is shit. And you need to accept this shit, you need to let go of hopes and dreams and recognize what's real, and then you'll be okay in life. Which I do believe to an extent. But it shouldn't be so like submissive, you know, this feeling of like, yeah, fuck it, everything's shit, we're all gonna die. Like he used to say stuff to me, you know when you're a kid and you're just finding out that death is a concept, you know what I mean? Yeah. So your whole morality is like, oh, a meteorite the size of Wisconsin passed the planet today. Whoa, if that impacts the earth, we're gonna die. You know what I mean? And so I'm like a 14-year-old kid, like panicking, whatever. And he'd go, Good. That way we don't have to go to work anymore. You know what I mean? And like looking back, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's fucking funny. Don't get me wrong. Like it's being so like, what's it? Cynical.
Yeah, it's the British cynicism.
You know what I mean?
Know,
and it's infectious.
Yeah.
Maybe to a detriment.
It is to a detriment.
You know, and again, I've never really had someone tell me like let go of your attachments, whatever, for enlightenment. But things like that, you know, like let go of things that you think are going to be good because they're not. And in actuality, it's like, you know what? Fuck that. Because even if I do spend, 9 hours at work, like where we work, I come home and that time is mine, you know, and I'll download my videos on my phone. Like I pay for YouTube. You know how many men have called me for having YouTube Premium, whatever. And it's like, you know what? I kind of called myself a bit. It's not even that cheap. Yeah. But at the same time, it allows me to download the videos I want to watch. I like watching my video essays so I can sound smart on like someone's podcast. You know,
Thank you for that. Thank you.
It's all been building up to this moment.
Yes,
But you know, and it's like I like doing my things, even if it's like I have a friend who's like, oh bruv, you know, I don't pay for this, I don't pay for that. I got a guy who sorts me out for this. I got a guy who don't have this, don't have that. And it's like at a certain point, it's like, bruv, I'm gonna fucking die anyway. I don't have. My dad has a property and I don't know what's happening with it. My mum doesn't have a property. Like bless her, I stay with my mum and she doesn't make me pay rent. But that affords me the freedom to just live my life, and I definitely do not take that for granted. And when I see people in other situations where they're not as free as me, I feel for them, and I really do. Because I recognize in those moments, I am so fucking lucky that I'm with my mum, who is the person she is. And genuinely just learning that lesson of like, yeah, okay, things can be shit too, and there is a little bit of get on with it, but at the same time, it's also... just because you need to throw away the bad, don't also throw away the good. And I think that's what certain people do. They just throw away everything and then rely on drugs or drink or... And to be clear, I don't just mean like recreational, like light stuff. Like I mean heavy stuff, bro. Heavy stuff, you know? You know, genuinely. Yeah. And I'd say, I know it was a bit of a long-winded answer, but in terms of letting things go, like I think that side of things, you know,
that's
I couldn't...
Beautiful.
Thank you.
No, it's beautiful. Thank you. And like, there is no long-winded answers here. I ask these questions because I want you to go off. I think just to touch on that, I completely agree with you. I've realized this about London. It makes me kind of... It's difficult because I think that I don't know if it's a feature of the place London or if it's just a feature of our generation, people growing up in this kind of era where everything's not that great, there's recession and everything. Because I hear a lot of people saying that, you know, give up on your dreams, be realistic, do this, do that. And like I hear what they're saying, they're hedging their bets for life. But I also think like you're in the time, I've always thought this, in the time that it takes you to get from A to B, you're gonna have to live those years. If you're not happy living those years, then what are you working for? Like you're gonna get to that end and you're not gonna be the same person. You know, you gotta really think about the person you are gonna be, doing the things that you think you're gonna do to get to where you wanna go. Like all these like putting things in the future, you know, pushing them out and making it almost a condition for your happiness, right?
But that also doesn't mean like becoming a crazy entrepreneur, you know, like a billionaire businessman who has everything together. Like that's not what I mean, in my opinion.
I know, I completely agree with you. And like I think I'm talking about like having it in terms of how it affects your life, you know, like everyone's different, everyone's life's different. For me, how I express that is doing these stupid podcasts, you know, talking to people because that's what I want to do, that's what I think is fun, right? And for everyone else it's different, you know. But I think to have that thing that is just yours alone, that you do regardless of what everyone else thinks about it, that you think that, you know, makes your time worth a time, or makes it, you know, balances against all the things that you have to do, like we have to go to work and all these things, yeah. But not to get too lost in that and become cynical, because I'm really starting to dislike cynicism. Like I'm really starting to, like, I don't dislike things, but when I see cynics, I think like, oh, you're trying to bring this whole thing down, like, because you don't like it. And like I understand, like we could go on a journey of self-discovery and find purpose for you and optimism for you, but you're giving up on that, and you think that all of this should come crashing down.
But now you need to ruin my life.
You want to ruin my life for my fun, you know? All right, cool. Let's not get emotional about that. But I think I wanted to also talk about some. I know we've been talking about kind of mixing gaming, anime and life. You know, we want to talk about gaming, but we can do that on the next one. I think gaming needs a whole another section, and we could probably do it while playing some games. Actually, we should probably. That'd be fun, right? You should show me some of your favorite games, and then
we could do a podcast podcast with gameplay in the background.
With gameplay in the background, you can talk me through some of your favorite games. But okay, let's bring some of these. I had some fun questions I thought would be good to ask you. I think you kind of touched on it a little bit in the last thing we were talking about. But can you talk about a time when being thankful or like having gratitude for the things that you have in life gave you a positive outlook on life, you know? And I think kind of what I mean by that is like you probably know, so I think you're ready to go off that. But yeah, like what does gratitude do? What does gratitude, what role does that have in your life?
So I'm gonna go way back, and I'm sorry this might end up being long.
Please.
But so growing up, my parents have been separated for as long as I can remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what that meant was spending time with two different parents, two different lives. My dad at the time was a lot more put together than my mum. And so he had the more stable, let's call it home life, right? Whereas my mum, she had to stay at the houses of other people at the time, and I would kind of follow. And from then, obviously, I had a bias to spending time with my dad just because it was nicer to be there. And then I just remember one day, my mum picked me up, and it's crazy. I must have been like 4, 5, 6 at most. And my mum picks me up, and I'm saying, "Oh, can you take me to dad's house? Can you take me to dad's house?" And it was like I was finally going back to my mum. My mum's thinking, finally, I get to see my child. And that's the first thing I say to her when I get in the car. And then she just breaks down. And she breaks down saying to me, like, I can't remember what she said, but I remember the emotion. And as a child, again, 6? As a child, I realized, like, I learned metacognition, bro. Like, in that moment, like, consciousness developed. And I became so anxious about what people think about me, because in that moment, I realized that, man, my mum is sad that I want to be with my dad. And I didn't even consider before that moment what that means. So that happens, and I think that's where my kind of outlook on life started, even as a young child. And honestly, probably how I started to lean more into comedy, because like I'm usually always talking in a group. I'm always trying to make jokes. I hear a lot of comedians come out and say stuff like they have this need to make people laugh, and I kind of have that. I'm definitely not a comedian. I don't think I can write a joke.
You don't know that yet,
I don't know. I've never tried to write jokes. We'll see. Maybe that's the next step. But I've always liked to be funny, and I've always liked to make sure people are happy. And I think that's where the outlook started. And I understand the question is like, when have I felt grateful? And I'll get there.
No, take your time.
And so I was a chubby baby, always tall, but I was a chubby kid all through primary school, secondary school. I'm still a chubby baby, honestly. But around secondary school times, late secondary school, I started to thin out a bit. I was playing more sports. I'm an okay looking guy, so I was fine. Don't get me wrong, I didn't have girls or anything, but I felt good. But I was very, what's the word? Not selfish. Vain. I was very vain. And those thoughts I was having for other people kind of disappeared a bit. I was thinking about myself a lot more in that period. So I get with my ex at the time, and life is good. I'm enjoying it. And we go to uni. And then when I get to uni, stuff was happening with my dad, like heavy stuff. And again, for the whole time, I was still quite selfish. Like, how could he do this to me? I can't believe of all the times he would do this sort of stuff while I'm at uni, while I'm like deciding the fate of my life, whatever. So the uni's a struggle, but I get through it, whatever. Maybe some resentment to my family, like my dad, whatever. Come back from uni, and I'm like, okay, I've been studying for 21 years. Like, I need a break. I've been thinking what my career is. I wanted to be a therapist leading up all the way to uni. And I finished uni, and with everything that was happening with my dad, I was like, nah, I can't do this professionally. I can't listen to people's problems who don't want to fix them. I can't listen to those professionally non-stop as a career. Also, I didn't feel comfortable being a young psychologist. I think it's like futile. So what experiences do you have, Even if you've gone through horrible childhood, you haven't got, I'm sure there are rare cases, but I don't think typically you've gone through enough reflection and acceptance in your life until you're like our age, But so what am I rambling about? Instead of going into career jobs, I went into shit jobs. I avoided it the whole of uni because I was lucky enough to get a grant, as in like the loan grant, not like a Ivy League uni or something crazy. I got a scholarship. I got a scholarship to Harvard. Yeah, no, nothing like that. I just got the grant, so I get a little bit more money that I don't need to pay back, right? So I avoided shit jobs. Even during A-levels, I avoided shit jobs. My ex at the time was working like fast food, and she said, look, if you need a job, do fast food. They'll take anyone on. Partly, I didn't want to do it because I was scared if I work at a fast food joint, I'm going to put on so much fucking weight. That was partly the reason, but also an excuse. I just didn't want to work. So I come back from uni and I'm like, you know what? I want to live a little. Let's see what this working business is all about. And I get a job at Tottenham Hotspur, the new stadium. And I'm a casual worker, which means 0 hours contract. Only come in for work for match days. But then the stadium wasn't built. So then match days are at Wembley. So alright, work in a shop in Wembley. And bruv, my God, working in a football shop on match day with a bunch of people who aren't serious, in fairness, in Wembley, but like other colleagues who aren't serious. You know, there's people who work there who aren't serious and probably were stealing stuff. And so management management treats everyone like dickheads, because I'm sure there are a lot of dickheads. But that means that even me, like if I'm in the corner talking to someone for like a minute of my day, it's a huge problem, you know? So alright, I get the belt a little bit, whatever, alright, yeah, slap on the wrist, alright. And then fast forward now, I'm being a bitch to them because I want more shifts, because I want more money. But then they'll give shifts to other people who I don't think are working harder than me. And this is a retail job, bro. And I'm placing so much value on this retail job. I'm like, I can't believe it. I'm working so hard and he's giving a job to this person instead of me. Like, bro, like questioning my self-worth because of this job in Tottenham, you know. Like, what am I doing? Anyway, to my detriment or not, my hard work pays off and I become part of this team, let's call it, the Avengers. No. Okay. So I become part of this team and we're transporting all the shit from the warehouse in Wembley back to Tottenham Stadium because it's been a year now and the stadium's built. Boom, whatever. We're bringing everything to the shop. So I helped them out. I packed the vans. We're going all through the underbelly of Wembley. You know, it's crazy. We're seeing like, I don't even know if I can talk about it, but we're seeing like the inventory of food stores. They're like Kingdom of Sweets, bro. Listen, all I'm saying is I'm never eating from them, man. But
it's crazy,
bruv. Listen, regardless.
Don't sue us, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I love Bimdom of Beats.
Like
Cut that one.
Like an anime when they got like
yeah. Cut that one. Cut that bit.
I don't know about that. I'm like it.
And so I get in good with them. They like how I worked. And then bless him, the guy turns to me and he goes, and listen, he's this person in general, I'm not going to talk about it today, but he went through hella shit at Tottenham as well. But he says to me, look, bro, you've been working well. I know there's some shifts in the warehouse and I know you wanted some more hours. I put your name forward to work in the Tottenham warehouse because Tottenham were in the Champions League final. And all the orders are up. Oh yeah, shit, it was with Liverpool, wasn't it? And orders are crazy. We need more man in the warehouse, right? And at the time I was like 0 hours contract, living wage. Because it's 0 hours you get 10% increase. So like I was, for my age at the time, for the work I was doing, like it was good. And this is where I'm finally getting to my point. I go to work for a month in this warehouse picking orders, basically. This is probably what Amazon warehouse workers every day of their fucking lives, right? And so I go there and there's like these, they're Eastern European. I'm not sure if they were like Romanian, but I don't know. I don't even want to start naming things and sound ignorant, but they're Eastern European and they've been there like years, like 7 years they've been in this warehouse. That's all they've known. That's all they've done. I was there for a month, bro, and my body was shattered. I bought a back brace to like keep my posture good. I bought knee braces because bro, it was fucking bad.
Because you're standing up all day.
You're standing up and walking all day. You're reaching for things. You're opening boxes, which sounds so nothing.
But that's what makes it, because it's monotonous.
No, honestly, that aside, bro, it's it's demanding on your body. Like, I had the 3-hour walk, like, jokes aside, on my birthday. I had a 3-hour walk on my birthday and I was shattered. 3 hours. Imagine doing that 8 hours. With a lunch break, sure, but you're literally just 9 to 5 or 4, wherever it was at the time, I can't remember, just picking orders. And this isn't a knock, like, that's the job, sure, but I worked that job and I fucking realised, man, like, I am good. Whatever job I have, if it's not in a warehouse, or even if it is in a warehouse, you're like a warehouse operative or whatever, or like admin or something, whatever. But people, and that's not even a worse job you can get. There's probably worse jobs than that. And bro, and in that moment, I just realised, like, I used to think I went through hard stuff in life, but I am in a position where I don't need a job like that. And I realised, like, holy shit, man, I'm so grateful for whatever the broken relationship between my mum and dad was, whatever my dad's new partner was saying, and, like, jokes aside about his cynicism and all the hardships during uni, you know, it was just, I realised in that moment, like, man, I have no enemies.
Yeah.
I have no enemies.
I love the callback. I love how you spun it. That's beautiful. Yeah.
But genuinely, like, in that moment, you know, working in that warehouse, and I had a bit of a bittersweet moment with that because I told my dad about it and I was just trying to start up a conversation with him. And I said, yeah, I've just been working in this warehouse for a month. Honestly, it's really opened my eyes. And he kind of did a thing where I genuinely thought he was joking. He, like, kind of turned around and went, oh, you know, my son working in a warehouse. And it was just this moment where he was, like, disappointed in me or something. And I just remember thinking, and again, I'm not going to go into the detail of what he was doing during uni, but fuckeries, bro. Fuckeries. And I just remember thinking, like, man, certain people will be a terrible person, but then still pass judgment and make you feel so small, regardless, you know. You still care about their opinion. And in that moment, I stopped. Literally in that moment, I realised, like, oh, I don't care about this person's opinion. Like, my dad, I love him. You know, he's an incredible person. He's an artist, whatever. But I just realised in that moment, like, yeah, I don't care. If you don't see the value that I saw that helped me get through this, that probably explains why you're in this situation at the moment, you know? Absolutely. And genuinely, yeah, I think that's when I really felt, like, gratitude in my life.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you so much. And, like you say, you're going on this, but you paint this amazing story, and it was important that you start from the beginning. I think it gives people perspective on exactly where the journey led to. And even to answer my own question, I think I started become. So obviously, I'm from Ghana, and I was born there, but I came here very little. I came here when I was like 4 years old, and so for the longest time we never went back. And you know, I think what tends to happen in immigrant families is that when they come to a new country, they want to acclimatize to that country, so they try to forget where they came from to be not stand out here. So a lot of that was pushed on by my mom. So when I growing up, I didn't really understand my own culture. But then when I got to an age of like 18 or 19, I was like, I want to try to understand my own culture. So I've been back a couple of times, and just going back gave me so much perspective. And I was becoming kind of spoiled in terms of, like, I was like, oh, everyone I know has this, and everyone I know, all my friends got the new iPhone and a new PlayStation, and I don't have anything, and like, what's wrong with our family and all these things, and I want more money. And I take a step back and realize, like, you have so much. You just need to change your base rate of what you compare it to.
I'm so sorry, bro. I'm hogging everything. But that's actually so true, because obviously I'm Italian, whatever. I was born in London. I probably feel more British than I do Italian, maybe. But I visited family in Italy a lot. And it's so interesting you say that, because I felt the exact same thing. And not about tech stuff, because obviously Italy, well, to be fair, Italy's a shithole, unfortunately, at some points. But, like, I can understand if, like, the quality of life is different in Italy than in Ghana. Like, I'm not trying to say it's similar. But the thing that I felt more guilty of was my open mindset that my family, a lot of them, really lack. And it's like, you're saying, oh, it's such a shame they don't have the, you know, they don't have the tech I have, they don't have the money I have, the toys, games, whatever. For me, I was thinking, bro, I feel so sorry for these people, because they just have this one view on life that is so fucking ignorant. And it's not even just racism. Like, there is that to an extent. But it's like, with Italians, and maybe this is just European countries in general, obviously a lot of them will be like, oh, the immigrants come here, we don't even have jobs for ourselves, why do they come here? But Italians also just hate themselves and hate each other.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember another job that I worked at, there was an Italian guy, and he's telling me, I remember I literally went to a government building to get a document, a very important document, and they couldn't print it for me because the employees steal the ink for their printers at home.
Holy shit.
Because obviously they think, oh, I'm not buying my own fucking ink. They provide it to me. Why do I need to buy ink when I can get it from work? And so what happens? The country doesn't fucking run because you can't print people's documents because there's no fucking ink in the office. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like I'm looking at my cousins and I'm seeing how they're growing up, and I hear the opinions they have. You know, like one of my cousins was very like Islamophobic, and then I was like, I mean, there's a lot of hate in a lot of religions, bro. Like, whatever you want to say about extremist Muslims, you could say about extremist like Christians in America. Like, bro, let's not even talk about Middle America, you know. And it was like, man, but it's different. And then as soon as he said that, I realized that it's futile at that point, because whether Muslims are like brown or white, whatever, just the thought of this ideology that is different and there are extremist versions of it, I don't agree with it. Bruv, I was thrown. I was like, bruv, all this shit you hear about Catholics and children, like, what are you with the Vatican in your own backyard? He was like, oh, but it's different, you know. And it was like, bro, I felt in that moment, not to say I'm high and mighty and I know better, whatever, but at the same time, I do feel that I think knowledge and intelligence are two different things. You know, knowledge is like an accumulation of things that you know. But then intelligence is like how you apply the things that you know, or how you speak to people, how you interpret emotions, your body language, you know. And so look, they can be very knowledgeable. They can be very knowledgeable about food. They can be very knowledgeable about like what tastes good, what tastes bad, whatever. You know, I think they're a bit pompous with that. But then with intelligence, I'm just like, is this what you want from life? Like, is this all you want from the beautiful culture that Italy has? And it's like, this is what we want to fight about, you know? Like, it's crazy to me. Anyway, sorry, you hit it bang on the head when you go back home. And it's like, what is worth?
And it's amazing that you were able to finish off my point, even though we come from completely, because that's literally what I was going to say. It's like, no, I mean, like, I'm giving it, I'm pointing it out because I would have said it differently, obviously, but like the fact that you got exactly what I was trying to say means that it's such a prevalent thing that happens. Because absolutely, one thing I noticed is that, okay, I have so much, but they are so closed mentally, like they're so regiment towards like what they think or what they've thought, that there's no way to kind of build that. And they're like, the community is always like, everyone's looking at you to make sure you act right. And I'm like, okay, like the benefits of the community is also also the weaknesses, because yes, they're kind of insulated from the outside world, and that kind of brings them close together, but they're also insulated from the outside world. So like they don't understand certain different thought patterns or certain cultures.
In, like, mental health and ideologies, you know, all of those things.
And how much do they care about that? I don't know. But actually, touching a good point, I think I want to bring this to a close because I'm also getting very cold. I think how I always end the podcast is to ask people what they think the meaning of life is. And I think it's a difficult question to answer, but I think you can speak on it in two ways. Where you think the meaning of life is for everyone, but also where you think the meaning of life is for yourself individually. Go on that.
Life's what you make it. Hannah Montana.
Thank you very much.
No, like, I hate this question because I think my honest answer is I don't think there is a meaning to life. With that question, it's like the meaning of life is to reproduce and like live, ultimately. But even if you pull that apart, you have to live. Like, that is the meaning of life, is to live. It's not about, I fucking hate it because it's like such a pseudo-psychological phrase, but I do kind of also love it. You know, it's like, it's not about finishing the race. It's not about finishing the race. It's about who you're with when you finish it, you know? And who you're with, you know, that could be people, that could be thoughts, that could be emotions, you know. That doesn't just mean people. And like, I think that's the meaning of life to me. The meaning of life is just living. And yeah, you're going to look back and everyone's going to have regrets, some more than others, some heavier than others. But time don't stop, man. Time don't stop. And I think searching for a meaning to make your life feel meaningful instead of just living.
What does that look like to you, though? Sorry,
just living.
So yeah, like you're saying, to build on 2 questions in one, then what is the meaning of your life? The meaning of life to you is to live. What does that look like to live? Look like to you in the small
Bruv, I think, to me, and honestly, I think, and so it's that moment of thinking, oh shit. Whenever she is making a decision that I think is reckless, at a moment she's doing something, she's like visiting people abroad, just for the weekend, you know. And it was like people are asking her at work, like, "Oh, are you sure is that safe? Or where did you even meet these people? You met them online? Oh, that's weird. Like, are they even real?" And look, to an extent, sure, maybe it is a bit reckless, but she was asking me like, "Oh, sorry, you crossing me?" And I really thought about it, and it's like, why? Like, I could take 2 stances. I could be, "You're going on this holiday, you're making me look bad, I can't believe it, like, what you doing, you're reckless, people think I don't care about you for letting you go alone, da da da." Or the other stance, which is, you don't know what your life is, so you're just living it. And if that means going abroad, if that just means going abroad for 1 fucking day to have this experience, that I think is pretty cool. I don't necessarily want to live it as well at the moment, mainly just for monetary reasons. But even then, even that, even just the fact that I'm like, well, I don't know if I can go. I'm kind of tired. I want to save money. Like, at the end of the day, I want my health to come first. So if I don't feel like going, I don't feel like going. But living life is just that, man. It's like, you want to do something, you do it. And I again, I don't want to be this person that's like, you know, this entrepreneur mentality. I can't stand it. This new alpha mentality stuff on TikTok and whatever, and like self-help books.
Wake up, grind, grind.
Exactly.
Cold showers every day.
Bruv, exactly. I love, the first thing I love in the morning is feeling my blood course through my veins. You know what I mean? Like, I can't stand it. When I say, just do the thing you want, I mean going for that walk. I mean, you know what, tonight I have the means to cook this meal instead of ordering something. Let me try something different. Let me cook a thing that, and I'm not saying some gourmet meal, it doesn't have to always be this exceptional thing. It's like, if you're always eating fucking roast chicken, I don't know, make a veg casserole one night. See what veg you like.
Take a different pathway.
Or you know what I mean? Or fucking fry a steak. How many videos are there of man frying steak on TikTok for some reason? Like, try fry a steak. I don't know. Like, try be fancy with it. Like, live. It's those things that I mean.
100%.
Instead of getting a bus home after work, like, take a walk to Liverpool Street.
100%,
It's those moments. And, and I remember there was another colleague from work who I met up with not too long ago. And we were walking through London, and she knew the way. She didn't have to, where we were going. She didn't have to look up a map. I'm there like, there's Costa. And she just, we'll take down there. We'll take 2 rights, and we'll be at the station.
Yeah.
Google's telling me 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We got there in like 8.
Yeah.
Because she just knows the fucking way. And it was moments like that where I was just like, she's lived, man. Like, she's lived. That doesn't mean she's gone hustling in London. It just means she's done things that she enjoys in London so often that she knows her way around the city, the biggest city in London, And I think that's so powerful.
100%.
And then my meaning of life, like, bro, I don't know what to tell you, man. My meaning of life is being comfortable. And I can also, I feel like I've said detriment so much in this podcast. Being too comfortable is a thing, and I get that. But at the same time, if I am doing my things and I'm working and figuring things out, like, I want to be comfortable, man. And I'm being a good person, ultimately.
100%.
And that's all I want to be. So if my goal is to be comfortable, then I'm very happy.
That's amazing. And like, 100%. And I think that it comes through. It comes through that you are content, happy. Like, you found a good balance between doing the things that you want to do and doing the things that you have to do. I'm
still looking for a healthier balance, a more sustainable balance.
Yeah.
At the moment, it isn't very sustainable.
Yeah. But that's also life, right? That's also part of life and part of like growing. And there's so many things that you can do, so many experiences to have. First, thank you, man. Thank you for doing this, man. Before we leave, is there any questions that you have for me? Any concluding questions? this is your chance to answer them.
Question, so I won't ask it.
Okay.
But definitely for the next one.
For the next one.
I'd love to know more about your journey with poetry and stuff, and literature in general.
100%. Yeah, I mean, we could do that. We could definitely do that next time. But thank you so much for doing this, bro. This has been amazing. This has been really one of my favorite podcasts to record, man. You're such an interesting person. I knew that. Had a feeling deep inside. But I had a feeling, and then I was proven right by this. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you guys for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.